Welcome to Beyond Lashing. I'm your host, Yoyis. This podcast is your safe space to feel seen, heard, and inspired. I'm here to help you grow your skills, build your business, and become the best version of yourself. Not just as a lash artist, but as the woman you were meant to be. Because Beyond Lashing is more than just lashes. It's about building a life you love. Hit follow and join me every week as we grow together. I missed you, not gonna lie. Like our last conversation, it felt like I was talking to a friend, you know?
Yes, you are my friend.
I love that.
No, I'm so excited. I'm so honored that you asked me to come back. I'm so honored. I am so happy to be here.
I love this. You're actually the first one that I've interviewed that I've asked to come back.
You know what? That's it. 2025. Wrap it up.
That's it.
It's all about, you know what? It's such an honor. It will no matter how many times we meet, it will always be an honor to me to be able to collaborate with you. I swear. I'm always still in awe. I'm like, wow, this is amazing. You're doing great things. And you are someone that I have looked up to my entire career. So
Oh, thank you. That means a lot. And to me, I always forget how far I've come and how many people I've helped just by my little YouTube videos, you know? And it's crazy, you know? And every, when you remind me, I'm just like, wow, there's people out there that I've helped that I don't even know of, you know? So thank you. Thank you for that.
yes, thank you for having me, and thank you for working with my crazy schedule.
It's okay, girl. I get it. You know, you're a mother, you got things going on, and it's life. Life happens.
Crazy. I know we're running off to basketball after this, and I'm like, we're doing all of the things dinner, basketball, and it's just, this is my regular Wednesday night, but I love it. It's
I
just
love it.
other women, or just even really showing myself you can do it all. You can have it all. You just
And speaking about that, before we jump into today's topic, because it's a very special topic today. I don't think I've ever talked about things like this, but speaking about being a working mom running her own business, what are a few things that you recommend for someone who I wouldn't necessarily say that they use it as an excuse, but always use it as a reason for why they can't do the things that we should be doing? So, what are some things that you recommend?
So, number one, organization, time management, those two things right there. If you can stay on top of those things or really implement really good time management and organization into your day to day, I have my entire day planned literally Monday through Friday, with the exceptions of obviously weekends, but I mean down to the hour. Why? Because for me, that's what keeps me accountable for the things that I've committed to, not only in my business, but as a mother, because there's so much going on that I'm like, if it's not on my calendar, no matter how important it is, I will forget. It will be lost in the sauce. So number one, I stay as organized as possible. I use Notion, I use Google Calendar, anything to keep me organized. And then time management is really big for me. So I stack my wins. So in the beginning of my day, I'm like, what do I need to move the mark on in order to move my business, important things for my children and or family. And then last, unfortunately, is sometimes myself. But I just stack my wins at the beginning of each day. Like, what do I need to do at the beginning of my day to move the mark? And I just try to really manage my time to where I'm always tracking towards something that needs to be done in order to move my business along. I don't really spend a lot of time doing things or tasks that to me aren't going to be moving the mark. And then third is grace, is to understand that you are one person. I beat myself up. I'm like, oh my gosh, I feel bad. I got to log off the podcast, so much at certain time to run to basketball. And you yourself up, but you're like, I'm one person trying to do a lot of tasks. Some days, and you and I kind of talked about this before, where it's like, I need a minute. I need a day to not think. I need to disengage, and really giving yourself permission, I think, to have those moments of being a human and not being able to be super mom, because that's not, but organization, time management, and grace. That's it.
Literally everything that I talk about all the time. And that's one of the things that a lot of people get burnt out. You know, they get burnt out because they think they need to be on top of everything. But giving yourself grace goes a long way. And what I mean by that is not making excuses, knowing you need to get things done. But what I mean by giving yourself grace is that it's okay to have a day or two to yourself to get yourself back to where you need to be at, because the last thing you want to do is put yourself in a position where you're not mentally stable. And take the day and regroup and refocus and then plan your next move.
Fill your cup. I always say, like, I can't pour from an empty cup. In my 4 years of business, I've really learned to become super self-aware when that cup is running dry. When I'm like, you know what? Because sometimes, you know, the entrepreneur in me is like, keep going, keep going, keep going. But sometimes I'm like, you know what? If I keep pouring from this cup, I'm not any good to my business or those I'm serving through my business, to my children, you know, to myself. So I really have become very self-aware when I hit those limits. And sometimes my mind will tell me otherwise, like, keep going, or I don't want to disappoint anybody. But sometimes you have to really choose you, and not in a selfish way of like, I have to be the best gift you can give to anybody or to your business is to be the best version of yourself and to be the best version of ourselves. We have to constantly be self-aware of pouring into ourselves and not burning out, because ultimately, you know, to give the world what you are meant to give, you have to have a full cup.
Yeah.
So it requires a level of almost, I hate to say the word selfishness, but yeah, a little bit of selfishness.
Yeah. And that also applies to going back to being a mom as a mother. Like I don't understand because I don't have kids, but all my sisters, I grew up with kids. You know, my mom had 9 kids, so I understand what it means to girl, I come from a big family.
Um,
So I understand like what it means to pour yourself to everybody and everything and put yourself last, you know? Especially like me, like I learned at the hard way being a business owner because I was so busy giving and giving and giving, and then you just forget about yourself, and then you wonder why you're burnt out. So there has to be a level of balance when it comes to pouring onto people, but also pouring onto yourself. And that's more important.
it's doable. You can do it. I'm doing it right now. I'm not going to say it's so easy. And yeah, there are a lot of days that I have to, you know, just really check myself. Hey, like, are we filling our cup? Are we making sure we're not feeling burnt out? And I'm just always committed to doing what I need to do to take care of me in order to do the things that I feel like help me to do. So we're still trekking.
We're going. And you know, this is funny that we bring it up because literally, what, 2 weeks ago, we were both going through it. You know, I was really sick, and then I got into the car accident, and then you were going through some stuff too. And I'm just like, you know what? Let's just take a minute. And then when we're feeling better, we'll regroup, you know, and it's okay.
Or you know what? And that's why it's so, you know, good to find people in this industry that you connect with and that support. You can support each other because we can really relate to what we're going through. Not all are my friends or my family's understanding what I go through as an entrepreneur. So it's great to find those connections within the industry and support each other, and to be like, you know what, I know what you're going through, and that's normal and it's okay. And to find that acceptance of being like, it's okay, you have to take a day.
Yeah.
And you know what, if she feels that way, then I know I'm feeling this way. It's normal. Transparent. I think the worst thing we can do in this industry is really give a false reality of what it takes to run and start a business and scale a business, and really giving that transparency to the world of what we're really going through, I think is far more helpful than showing the highlight reels. That's what's really going to help people, is that transparency, and that, you know, hey, I'm going through that too, no matter where you're at in business. Like,
Mhm.
really spiraling today. I need a minute. And when I just went through that as well, and connecting. I think that's what will really move this industry away from then just showing the highlight reels of owning a business and owning a lash business specifically, and to really becoming more community, which is, I think, super important.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's what this industry has lost touch with is the reality of what it really means to run the business. I think people get so caught up with like the prettiness, the boss girl vibes that they forget like it's hard running a business. And honestly, it's the biggest reason why I made this podcast because it's not about me, it's about you. It's about everybody who is out there killing it and putting in the effort and day in, day out hustling. Jumping into today's topic, because I know you're busy. I know you got things to do, so I don't want to keep you too long.
All day.
Okay, so we are gonna get into marketing, and I feel like you are the queen of marketing. So let's just go ahead, jump into it. Give us your tips, anything you want to talk about, things that have helped you and your business grow to the level that you are today. And I'm just honestly excited to hear. I need to take some notes because, girl, there's always something new to learn.
You know what? Right. So what I'm seeing a lot in the industry right now is what I like to call a lot of marketing fluff. And what I'm hearing is a lot of advice that's saying, speak to your target audience. And that's great advice, right? But that's just the tip of the iceberg of the strategies that you need to know and understand in order to really successfully nail your marketing in your lash business. So what I found is that it's not enough to just speak to your target audience, right? But we need to know how to speak to our target audience. I hear a lot of this advice of speak to your target audience, find out who your target audience is. That's great, but how are we speaking to them? Understanding how to speak to them, that is going to be the key.
Mhm.
So, and it starts with understanding buyer types and creating content that speaks to each of these buyer types. So, I'm going to give everybody a marketing degree in like 10 seconds. So, there are 4 buyer types, and each of these buyer types is motivated by something different in order to make a buying decision. So, in order for them to make the commitment to book with you. So we kind of talked about this on a live we did once before, but to kind of really dig into it. So I like to compare the buyer types to the Sex and the City characters because why not? That just more fun. Who doesn't love like a good Sex and the City comparison? So the first buyer type is going to be our Miranda, and she's our analytical buyer. She wants the research. They want the data. So how you're going to speak to this buyer through your content is going to be really few through those reviews and testimonials. They want the research and the data that, hey, this thing works. Whatever you're selling, this is the results. This is going to work for you. So our second buyer type is going to be our Samantha, and she's really like our assertive buyer. And this buyer is really based off of authority. So how are you going to speak to this buyer type through your content is really going to be positioning yourself as the authority. I hear a lot in that marketing fluff advice is, position yourself as the authority, position yourself as the authority. And that is great advice. However, that is only speaking to one buyer type, right? So you're missing a lot of these other buyer types. So sometimes that content is only speaking to a very small amount of people within your audience. But that section of your audience is that assertive buyer. That's who loves that authority type of content, and that is our Samantha. So through your content, they really like to see you confidently marketing your services and confidently speaking about your services. And that's what's really going to motivate those buyers to book with you. So our third buyer type is going to be our Charlotte, and she's our emotional buyer. And they really want to connect with you and your brand. So this type of content needs to really evoke emotion. So your content should talk about how your services is going to make them feel, or really talk about your brand story, opening about why you started your lash business. Any type of content that's really going to evoke emotion and connect with your audience on that emotional level, that's that type of buyer type. And
Mhm.
last but not least, our fourth buyer type is our carry, and that's our really expressive buyer. So what motivates them is by showing them how your service is going to give them some sort of transformation. So how you're going to speak to them through your content is really going to be through those before and after photos, because those really show that transformation, and
Mhm.
showing some sort of transformation that might include through their confidence, how your lash sets are going to provide a transformation in their confidence, showcase how it's going to provide a transformation in their morning routine or their day-to-day routine, showcase the transformation through maybe how their eye shape is going to look with this new customized lash shape. But what I found is that when you know who your target audience is and you know what motivates them to buy, and then you are showcasing the unique solution through your content and properly speaking to your target audience, that's going to increase your sales. It's going to increase your clientele. And most importantly, that's when you're going to nail your marketing.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I've really found has helped me really to speak to that target audience, and not to speak to them, to properly speak to them, to really get in there and speaking and knowing how to speak to each of these buyer types. Because we all think differently as humans, and we all have different experiences, and different things motivate each of us to make a purchase.
Yeah.
So it all to understand our audience a little bit better in order to properly speak to them. And that's obviously going to be done through our content.
Mm-hmm. I love that. And I'm glad that we're talking about it more in depth, because I know the last time that we talked about it was on our live.
Yeah.
And a lot of people had questions about it. And they were like, how do I go about it when it comes to like the actual marketing aspect? So how specifically would you go about it? Like, say, for instance, you're trying to target like a specific person. You create what reels, carousels about that, right?
What I would do is, and I know this sounds like very extensive, but when you get into a habit of creating your marketing strategies, it's really, it becomes copy and paste, right? So what I do is I have almost essentially like kind of like a chart, a spreadsheet. You can go on Canva and you can type in, content calendar, content strategy calendars, and it will literally list and give you like blocks by day, by time. But all you basically do is create, or what I have done to make this a little bit easier and try to start to plug and play. I plan my content weekly. And what I do is I have a block designated for each buyer type, right? So my assertive buyer, my emotional buyer, and then I create content for each of those buyers, and I create different types of content. So, and you don't have to have, some people, especially me, I don't have, hours and hours upon hours to create endless amount of content weekly, right?
Yeah.
So maybe for each buyer, I'll have a reel and I'll have a story or a carousel. And I like to mix and match. Like maybe for my assertive buyer, I do a reel and a story. The next week, I might do a carousel. But I try weekly to have content that spans across all of these buyer types. Because what I'm seeing in the marketing fluff and the strategies that are being taught right now in the industry is that we're only telling or educating our lash artists to only speak to one of these buyers and create content that evokes emotion, or create content that's really going to set yourself up as the authority. But you're only, like I was saying before, speaking to one person. So I like to lay it out, on a weekly basis. I set apart all 4 buyer types, and then I create content weekly that is going to speak to each individual within my audience. And you can kind of do that, your organization strategies, like whatever fits, your, for me, I just have a chart, and then I go through, I list my content that I'm going to make, and I make content based on my buyer types because that's who I'm speaking to.
I love that, because I've never actually implemented any of that into my strategy. All I do is focus on my content pillars and then do reels and carousels, and I literally just kind of wing it. But having a content strategy is very, very important, because then you're kind of just like, should I post today or not? I haven't, it's a lot easier to create content knowing, okay, I'm going to do a content based on this type of person, and I'm going to try to attract this kind of person. And it's easier to kind of just go back and forth between all those personality types.
I love what you said about your content pillars, because that is a very important aspect of planning your content and a part of your branding and a part of your marketing. I too have my content pillars, but I break it down even more. So I have my content pillars of like empowerment and educational videos and funny videos. but then I break it down even more. So I have those content pillars, but I apply those content pillars down into the niches of my buyer types. So how can I make an educational video? Or like for me, one of my content pillars is education. So how do I make a content video that, or I'm sorry, an educational video that speaks to this buyer type, that speaks to this buyer type. So still have those content pillars, but break it down even more to each buyer type. So they're getting the benefits of that content pillar, but then they're also getting the benefit of you properly speaking to what motivates them. So I think that in hand.
Yeah, no, we don't really go into detail about going into detail, breaking it down even more. And these are very crucial because, again, there's so much information out there that it's so easy to get like buried with it all. And even for me, like when I try like looking or getting ideas off of social media, and then I run across this post and this guy's telling you this is how you should edit, this is how you should do storytelling, like everything becomes overwhelming, and it's to the point where I feel like this industry doesn't really know what to do anymore, you know? Yes.
Said that. So one of my mentors, Rosa Santos, she is the owner of Lash Artistry down in Miami, or I'm sorry, Fort Lauderdale. And she just launched a really awesome educators course. And her and I kind of talked about like the educating world and just like the world of, you know, lash artistry and our industry. And that was something that we spoke about, is that I feel like now everybody is the authority. But, you know, I'm going to say this in controversial opinion, but not everybody's the authority. I think that's great if you're striving to be the authority. I think we all have something to bring to this industry. I think we all have knowledge that everybody has to hear. And I'm not saying that everybody's not an expert at their craft, but what I'm saying is that everybody is showing up as the authority. But you just have to be careful what advice you're taking. You know, maybe take a little from this person, a little from that person, but understand we're all out here figuring it out. That's the honest truth. No matter how long we've been in the business, some of us have learned a little bit more in one category than maybe the next. Maybe, you know, in one area, you're really strong because you have a lot of knowledge and expertise through your business. And maybe in another area, I'm really strong. So it's really kind of looking at those around you. For me personally, and I say, okay, this is where I think they're really strong, and I'm going to pull from this. You know, they're really great at marketing, so I'm going to really kind of hone in from them for marketing advice, or vice versa. But you know, everybody's at the same place. We're all, as entrepreneurs, there's no guide plan, there's no roadmap or direction or instructions. So you know, you just have to be careful of not being flooded by everything that we see and really making it authentic to yourself. So I would like to say that your branding and your marketing, that is the soul of your business. And it's not a one size fits all. It's really tailored to your personality, because you're bringing something to this industry that is not here. That's why everybody's needed and everyone should be welcomed. And when it comes to your branding, and especially when it comes to marketing, so your content, really the purpose of their content is going to be the how. You're showing them the transformation, the how, and I'm going to show them the how through your content, and your services, you're funneling them from your content into your packages, into your offers. That's going to be how they're going to receive that transformation, how they're going to receive that outcome. So you're starting with your content, that the why they need this, how they need this, how they're going to receive this transformation, what they're going to receive. And then through your content, you're funneling them into your services. And that's going to be how they're going to receive that transformation. So it really all starts with your content. Content is so important. And coming from someone that like, content is the bane of my existence. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of time. It's a lot of thought process. But it's super important to your branding and your marketing.
See, the one thing that I always tell my students when it comes to content is to plan out one day out of the week and at least 1 to 2 to 3 hours, depending how much time you have, but literally schedule it into your calendar and make sure that that's your content day. Rather, you're taking in a model, you're recording content, or you're sitting down doing a voiceover or doing something, but that has to be your content day. And I think a lot of people get stuck in this area because they're like, I don't have the time. The question is, do you make time for it? Because if
Yes.
you really wanted to grow, you would make time, right? If you wanted to lose weight, you will make time to go to the gym. It's the same thing, the same rules apply. So make time for it. Me, I started actually doing 3 days out of the week where I focus on creating content. I take in models, I edit the videos, all that fun stuff. I also use it for, my podcast days. And sometimes it's a little off here and there depending on the schedule of who I have coming in. But I try to make time for it because I know that content is literally the forefront of my business. Without it, my business wouldn't exist.
And I think really for me, what's helped me changing my outlook from I have to shifting that focus to I get to. My content is my business speaking to the world, is putting out to the world, is to educating the world, is to inspiring the world, is to motivate the world. I get to make my content. I get to do this. This is a privilege. It's not I have to. When we stop thinking about things within our business that we feel are a chore and we reconceptualize them into I get to do this. I'm to do this. I get to show up, and that really helps me when I'm creating my content to be like, this is, even if it just helps one person or resonates with one person, it's we obviously are posting content to really move the mark in our sales and within our business, right? But then also our content has such power to really motivate and help and speak to your audience. And no matter how big your following is, I don't care if you have 10 followers, those are 10 people. Have you ever seen the videos where it shows you in a room how many people? And it
Yeah.
be like, oh my gosh, like 1,000 people. We think, oh, it's just 1,000 people. But when you see it, you're like, gosh,
Yeah, it's a lot.
yeah, your content has the ability, branding is you are your brand. Your brand is not you, you are your brand, and your content is really going to display who you are as a brand to the world. And I think that's such a special thing. And I think something that also has helped me when it comes to branding and marketing is really understanding who I am as a business. First and foremost, like I tell my students, before you even pick up a tweezer, these are the questions I want you to answer before you start going onto the technical side, because it's like building the foundation of the house. We don't start with the windows, we start with the foundation. And the foundation of your branding and marketing is understanding who you are as a brand. Who are you as a brand? Who do you help? Who will you serve? And how are we going to serve them? When we have those categories nailed down, now we know how we can show up in our brand. And I think kind of really having an understanding who we are helps us to make branding and marketing a little bit easier, and helps it to not make it so overwhelming. Like you said, like I've heard this advice and this advice. Know who you are as a brand. And it's very simple. Ask yourself, who do I want to serve? How can I serve them in a unique way that showcases my personality, who I am and what special things I bring to this world? And how would I like to do that? There's an endless amount of opportunities, but really, and it's funny because I didn't always think like this when it came to branding and marketing. It actually took for me and this is why mentorship is so important. I actually had a mentor that specialized in branding and marketing. And that's really who planted the seed. Her name's Victoria. I think you had her on the podcast,
Yeah.
actually. One of my early mentors. And she really planted that seed of like branding and marketing for me and being like, you have an amazing business, but like, let's really personalize it. And that made me fall in love with my business, because when you build your business, you want to build a business that's authentically you, that makes it easier to show up, that makes it easier to create content because it's you. You're not creating content because you think this is what you have to post. You're creating content that really shows your personality.
It's funny because I'm actually going to be featured in her podcast next week. Yeah.
Oh, I love that. I have to listen to that. I think it's within her, she has like a
Her
group, right?
membership or something like that. Yeah. It's
Oh, that's
called Unleash Her or something like that. It's kind of like her educational platform that she does.
yes. I actually did her podcast back in November.
Oh,
And He is, oh my gosh, I need to sit on that podcast between you two. That's gonna be fire. The two of you. Yeah, but
Hope so. I have no idea what we're gonna be talking about. We're just gonna wing it, I guess.
you guys, she's amazing. I mean, you've already spoken to her.
Yeah.
Really the one who taught me, laid that foundation for branding and marketing for me. And it really was more than just like, what do you want to offer as a brand? It was like, who are you? And if anyone listening to this podcast today needs help with identifying who they are as a brand, or is like, I have no clue where to start, Kara, please DM me. I have a list of questions that I will send you, no strings attached, and just really help probing you to form that identity of you as a brand. So if anyone needs help with that, please let me know. I'm happy to kind of plant that seed like someone has done for me in the past. I have like a list of questions that helped me really kind of hone down into like, and they make you really think. They're like, oh, okay. Like I never thought about that question when it comes to my business, but that really helped shape who I was as a brand. And it was like it clicked. And it was like when I understood who I was as a brand, the marketing became easier, the content became easier because I was just showing up as me, which I didn't do in the beginning. It was like copy paste. It was like, oh, well, this is what I see people are posting. This is what I should be posting. And I feel like when you are following suit, you're less likely to be consistent in your branding and in your marketing. So I think that's a really major key, is identifying your true personality as a brand.
Mhm. It's honestly the most important thing you can do for yourself. And, even me, like, I did not start off, thinking that this is going to turn into a full-blown business. I really thought, let me just make some money, like, we need help paying the bills, putting food on the table. I just want to pick up some tweezers and make some money. If you've been in the industry longer than a year, you have clients paying you, you have a business, you have a brand. And just because you don't have a fully booked out schedule does not mean that it's not a business. It means that there's potential. And if you really want to take yourself seriously, then yes, dig more into about personal branding and focus on you, because you are the forefront of your business. And what's more important than showcasing who you are? People are going to book you, for your voice, for your talent, for your skills, for the way that you look, the way that you present yourself. All of that plays into effect of who your brand is. So don't be afraid to show yourself. Don't be afraid to be authentic. And if that's something that you struggle with, you really don't know, then definitely hit up Kara, because she'll send you those questions. And that way you can get down to the nitty gritty of what it means to have a personal brand.
Open book. Like I do not date at all. I am so grateful for the lash artists and brands that went before me that allowed me the space to come to them freely without any strings attached and just pick their brain. And what I want to pass down to everyone else that crosses my path. And then they can teach the next woman. So I think that's really important. And I think that you said it best, like if you're showing up, no matter what your audience looks like, I think there's a common misconception that if you don't have a large audience, you can't make an impact, or why even show up, or your branding doesn't matter, or your business doesn't matter. But let me tell you something. Don't even look at the number of your following. At the height of us taking classes and trainings throughout the country, at the height of that, I had less than 2,000 followers. At the height, we were impacting lives. I would go and teach the class, and so many women would come out to me afterwards and express, oh my gosh, I really felt seen. Your story really helped me. And here I was connecting with all these people, and Empower was making impact. And our following, if you looked at our following, you were like, you might not think that's that great. Or maybe for me, I know it was, that toxic thought of, well, I don't have a lot of following, so people might not think that I'm, as good of a lash artist, or I'm not as good as a lash educator. And don't let that number go to your head. No matter what you're following, if you have 1 or 1 million, you have the ability to impact the lives of others through your brand. And your brand is more than just profit for your business. Your brand is your purpose. Your brand is your mark on this world, even if it's through the lashing industry. I always say the lashing industry is the platform that God gave me to really seek out my purpose. I was like you, I had no clue that when I started this is not what I envisioned by any. I thought I was going to get it. And honestly, in the beginning, I was like, who's even going to book with me? Like, I really had zero expectation. You hate to say that, but I didn't. I thought I was going to make a few bucks, save to buy a house, and I was going to let it go. But, you know, God had different plans for me, which thank God. But I just, your brand is so important and is so needed. And for your brand to be unique, to share your unique story, because your story matters no matter what that story looks like. And your story, showcasing that through your brand, has the ability to impact so many lives and a number of following. It doesn't even matter.
Yeah.
I don't, if I have zero, cool. Well, I need at least one. I need, but I don't try not to keep, you know, I don't look at numbers. I totally disconnect from that outcome. I think that's where you find significance.
No, and I truly believe in that too, because I feel like the industry, or not even the industry, but this time of days, I feel like people get too caught up with numbers because they think that if they don't have numbers, they're not seen as a professional in the industry, right? Like if you don't have 100,000 followers in the lash industry, you're still a small business. But the reality is you can have a full-on business with the clientele that you already have, with the little products that you already have. And if you don't have products, you have trainings. If you don't have trainings, all you have is clients, then that's a business within itself, you know? And do not get caught up with the numbers. I say that all the time. You can have 100 people in a room and it's going to be overwhelming. So imagine what you can do with 100 people.
Oh yeah.
It's
I
a lot of potential.
that all the time. It does not matter. I have seen companies that have huge followings and really not really use their branding to really impact others or really be doing too much, you know? And I've seen other companies that might seemingly look smaller that are making huge impacts. So it's not the numbers. I know in the beginning I felt like I was going to be overlooked based on my following, based on, you know, how what my brand looked like or how big or small it looked like. When you're creating your content, I know something that I really had to work through in the beginning was, and it helped me show up authentically, was in the beginning, you know, I didn't have a lot of extra money to book pure spaces and do these professional shoots and all of the amazing things that I'm blessed to be able to do now in my business, because I've been in the industry for 4 years and have grown to that point. But in the beginning, I had my one little $20 Amazon ring light. I didn't have an aesthetically pleasing salon. I was literally in my apartment. But me, and what helped me show up transparently, because at first I used to be like, my content looks so low budget, people aren't going to take me seriously, and it would make me not want to show up. So what I found is, when it comes to your marketing and showing up authentically through your branding and your marketing, is take the spotlight off of you. When we shine that spotlight on us, we feel like we pick ourselves apart. Oh my gosh, this doesn't look professional. I sound crazy. What are people going to think? They're not going to take me as seriously because this doesn't look like a high quality type of content. When I took the spotlight from shining it on me and I shined it on other people's, and how I did that was I began asking myself, how can I help someone through this content? How can I serve others through my content? How can I really showcase my services, my techniques? How can I showcase Empowered as a brand through this content? It made my aesthetic not matter. It was like, it doesn't matter what it looks like, I'm going to show up because I have purpose in what I'm saying. Creating content can be a little intimidating, especially when you're starting out, and you might feel like you're smaller, or you might not have the means at first to really go all out in your content, and that's okay. That doesn't mean your content is not going to move the mark in your marketing. It's less about what I'm finding. What I love is happening, because trends come and go within content. What I'm seeing a lot of now in content is it's less like perfectionism. It's more raw and real, and show up in your car in the front seat with your mic, just talking and sharing some really nuggets of knowledge.
Yeah.
That doesn't matter what it looks like. It's what you're saying and how you're really connecting with your audience. That's what's really going to help with your content. Not as doesn't have to be super aesthetically pleasing all the time.
And I can agree to that. I was actually having the conversation with my sister because my sister she started her TikTok and she's like doing like a mom vlog type
Yeah.
of TikTok, right? And she's like, but I don't have like a nice camera. And I was like, you have a phone with a camera, right? She's like, yeah. And I was like, then that's all you need. Like, you don't need this fancy equipment. Like, if anything, borrow my stuff. It's perfectly fine. But like, you don't need to go all out. You just need to start. You
Yes.
need to start.
Yes. Just
That's
start.
all it takes. That's literally all it takes is for you to push record and do it time and time and time again until it becomes second nature to you, where now you can start investing into, a better camera, into better lighting. And then as time goes by, you'll be able to have full control of your content. And if I were to tell you where I started as a beginner YouTuber, you would be shocked that I went through all these hurdles trying to post just one video, but I did it. And now here we are. I have all these equipment. I have cameras. I have, things that most people wouldn't have in their house. Why? Because I'm a full-time content creator now. And I do it because I know it serves my community and it helps people out there. At the end of the day, it's not about me. It's what I can do and serve my community. So again, it's taking the spotlight out of you and focusing on what you can do for other people. And like I told my sister, that all you need is your phone.
Yeah.
All you need is you and
Yeah.
just but just do it.
And on my phone, I actually, funny story. So my fiance bought me like this really, really nice camera a few years ago, when I was really kind of getting into creating the content with my business. And I'm like, I need a nice camera. I need a nice camera. So he surprised me and bought me this really amazing camera. Girl,
Mhm.
this thing, I still to the same like figuring out how to properly work this camera. Like I use it, but I feel like I'm not a photographer and I probably could do a way better job. But a lot of my content I shoot on my phone, on my iPhone.
Mhm.
Um, I switch it up every now and then, obviously performing what I mean, whatever I need for the content to perform or the content I'm shooting. But a lot of the time, like I make a lot of content on my camera, and you would be surprised actually how many people do that. And their content still resonate. Like that's the one thing I love about TikTok because each platform requires a different type of content. If people don't know that, that is the truth. What resonates on TikTok is something completely different than what Instagram is looking for. But I love TikTok because it's very like raw and real content. Like it's a lot of content that's like really, perfectionism content. It's like, hey, here I am, sweatpants.
Mhm.
I'm going to tell you some real tips
Uh-huh.
about XYZ. And it really resonates with that community. So that's something that I enjoy when I make my content is I know I can create different contents based on the different platforms. So I might show up differently on TikTok because that's the type of content TikTok likes to see versus on Instagram. I know that maybe Instagram prefers this type of content and
More
really
like pretty
yeah,
content.
like more of that perfectionism content, I like to call it. Not to say you have to be perfect or super aesthetically pleasing. It's just I feel like over on TikTok, it's more like very raw and real, which I really appreciate because sometimes like an idea will pop in my head and I'm like, oh, I want to record a video and get this like off of my brain. And I might not be the most aesthetically looking at the moment.
Yeah.
That's what I love about TikTok and that community. But yeah, so to wrap like everything up, your brand is a reflection of you as an individual, is a reflection of your purpose, is a reflection of what you're bringing to the world through your business. And your marketing is based off of your content and showcasing that branding through your content and really kind of funneling them into your offers, to your services.
I love that. So again, if you guys have any questions and if you really need more of the nitty-gritty, you really want to get down to what it means to have an authentic business through yourself, then I recommend for you guys to DM Kara.
Yes, please DM me. I am happy to answer any branding or marketing questions or maybe you just been feeling stuck, or you just feel like you're really not resonating with your brand anymore, and you really need to get those creative juices going, DM me. That is like one of the things I love doing, is talking to other businesses and helping you find your purpose. That is like, I feel like a lot of my why here in this industry. So yes, please DM me. I love to hear from you guys. And I thank you so much for this opportunity to be here. I love, love, love being here. As many times as you want me, I will be here.
I love this. Yes, probably another one coming up soon too.
Yes, anytime. And also, we can connect on some other ways to collab. So
Yeah.
there's for us.
No, we should do a live. I feel like it's long overdue now.
I think we should definitely do a live. I haven't done a live in a while. And the one we did, I got so much great feedback, and so many people had like questions and really enjoyed it. So I think that this would be good.
We can continue our chat afterwards.
Rush out the door onto basketball. But yes, message me. Let's tag up and plan a live.
Yes, sounds good.
Girlfriend, thank you so much.
It was good talking to you. Bye bye.